I usually hate getting tagged in videos. There's a reason for that. Most of the time, it's usually because some troll has decided to tag me in a video and let me know that I'm fat or dumb or I got something wrong in a video. Yeah, no kidding, it happens. But when it happens from someone that I actually like and admire and respect, that's something I enjoy. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. Welcome to Square Pegs. Today is a video response to my friend Stewart from Generation Pixel. He tagged me in a video going over 10 video game related questions. We're gonna go over them all right now. Okay, a little bit of a different perspective. We're gonna start things off down here. This will probably end up being where I stay because now that I'm sitting on the floor, I can't move because I'm old. But first question, what is it? Which type of games do you like to play? And that's kind of a loaded question because the easy answer is yes. I like to play games. I like to play games of all kind, whether they're the most like action intensive games or they're something like a sports title or maybe they're a turn-based RPG. Those are all things that I enjoy, all things that I love. But if I really sit and think about it and I really start to consider like what are my favorite types of games, which are the ones that I play the most often, which are the ones that make me the happiest, it is a turn-based JRPG. Very much like Stewart said. Suikoden 2 is my favorite game of all time. It is what I think is the epitome of what a turn-based JRPG should be. I love things like the Final Fantasy series. I love the Dragon Quest series. I am so happy to have been introduced to Live a Live this year, which I think is incredible. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And there's so many other turn-based JRPGs out there that we're not even talking about yet. Stuff like the Mario and Luigi series, Paper Mario, Sea of Stars is another great example. There's countless stories to be told. And if a game has a fantastic story and excellent turn-based combat, chances are I'm gonna love it. Other than that, it's this. NHL. I am a longtime hockey fan. I played hockey for years. It is my favorite sport. I love the sports games featuring hockey, whether it's the EA NHL series or other games that feature hockey in some way, shape, or form. Those are the ones for me. Those are my favorites. So JRPGs or sports. That's how it is. Second question, how much time do you spend playing games per week? And the answer is not as much as I would like. I work a full-time job. I have a fairly active YouTube channel. And one of the secrets about being a gaming creator for YouTube is you don't actually play as many games as people might think. You just don't have the time for it because there's always something new to talk about, always something new to cover, always something different that needs to be filmed. So I play a lot of games for like 20, 25 minutes, and then I will go back to my old faithful games. But if I'm looking at like a cumulative number for how much I play per week, I have to count mobile because mobile is part of it. Mobile gaming is legit. I know a lot of people don't think it is, but it is. There's plenty of very in-depth, fun mobile games. Like Apple Arcade is full of fantastic stuff. But I would say probably about 20 to 25 hours a week gaming, like actively. I wish it were more. 15, 20 years ago, it was significantly longer. Back before I was a dad, even before I was married, it was, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 hour weeks of gaming. And that really dropped off significantly when I stopped playing MMOs. Once I got rid of World of Warcraft, once I kicked that addiction, I didn't really have to worry as much about my gameplay time, and I could focus on console stuff. So I would say 20 to 25 hours a week. I do wish it was higher. I wish I took more time to play games, but a lot of times it's just focused on making content for the channel and playing snippets and bite-sized portions of games, which is good and bad. The content's good. The satisfaction of playing the games is not as high as I would like it to be. How's that? Third question, can video games be educational? And the answer is, of course they can. That is like an insanely ridiculous question to me because absolutely video games can be educational. Here in the States, if you don't have fond memories of playing the Oregon Trail or Number Munchers or something like that, then I feel bad for your childhood because that was such a staple of growing up for me. But for me, the epitome of can a video game be educational is this one right here, Carmen Sandiego. Carmen Sandiego was a deeply educational game disguised as a whodunit mystery. You had to learn about history, you had to learn about geography, you had to learn about all kinds of important things that you needed to learn about, and it was all just like trussed up in this beautiful bow of catching Carmen and her henchmen from Vile. It was And I maintain to this day, I think it might be one of the most perfect video games ever created. Every single Carmen Sandiego game has a secret educational lining to it. And that's games that are directly educational, because there's tons of other stuff too. Like, I know my reading comprehension just skyrocketed when I started playing RPGs. And I know that's the case for my son Victor, because when he got into video gaming, Pokemon was one of the first things that he really loved. And he had to learn how to read all those words, so he did. And it's something now where he has a voracious appetite for reading and enjoys writing stories. And yeah, video games are absolutely educational and like brilliant tools for educational purposes. I love educational games, and they're not something I play often because, frankly, I've kind of aged past some of the questions in where in the world is Carmen Sandiego or where in time is Carmen Sandiego. But for the most part, yeah, video games are absolutely educational, and sometimes in very, very subtle ways. Fourth question, what do you not like about video games? And this kind of ties into the second question. I don't like that I don't have enough time to play the games I like. I wish I took more time to enjoy the things that I really enjoy, to play the things I really like, to really sit down and kind of get elbow deep into a game, and I just don't take the time to do that anymore. Whether it's because of having to do stuff for the channel, or there's other familial responsibilities I have to take care of, or just family stuff going on, or friend stuff going on, I don't play as often as I'd like. Now, a lot of that is a self-inflicted problem. Like, I don't have to do the amount of work I do for the channel, but I enjoy doing it. I do think, though, that there's something to be said for just kind of taking a mental break from doing nothing but content and just playing the games you like. A few weeks ago, I said, and I told people that I wasn't going to be able to do a video for a particular day just because I'd run out of time. I just hadn't had the time to work on it, and I wasn't going to force myself to work on a video until 3 o'clock in the morning when I could just take the weekend off. So I did, and I played nothing but games that I wanted to play all weekend, and it was absolutely magical. It is a double-edged sword being a content creator, especially one that experiences any modicum of success, where you feel the pressure to continue to make content. And I love doing it. I love making videos. I love talking to you guys about games. I wouldn't be doing a video like this if I didn't like talking about them. But sometimes you just really need to sit down and play Little Red Riding Hood Zombie Barbecue for 4 or 5 hours and not worry about what the view count is. And that would be the big one for me, is just, that's what I don't like, is that I don't have time. But if I look at it from a case of what about the industry do I not like? Right now, I don't like that it seems to be kind of becoming a conglomeration of only 3 companies. Microsoft has bought up a ton of studios. Sony has done the same thing. Nintendo does it to a lesser degree, but Nintendo has such a big in-house development team anyway that they kind of already do it just by default. And I don't like the fact that we're losing so many great studios due to parent company mismanagement or something like that. And I think that is criminal, frankly. I didn't like it when we did it at EA when I was there. I don't like it now that companies are doing it, almost 2 decades after I left. It's something where it's such a shame to see companies shuttered because parent companies couldn't manage their money better. Now, I'm not saying that's what happens all the time. There's certainly cases of companies or studios being shut down because they mismanaged funds. They didn't know what the hell they were doing beyond, we are here to make a game, and there's a lot of it that goes into it. There's a lot of business work that goes into it behind the scenes. That's why games are expensive. Anyone that says they don't like that games are expensive, don't look at the economy of how a game is produced. It's just a case of buying a studio and then shuttering it 6 months later, or like Sony just did with that, whatever that game was that they canceled 2 weeks after it came out. They just closed down. I'm absolutely flummoxed that a decision like that is made when they could have looked at it and said, yeah, team-based shooters are dying. They're dying. We don't have to make this game. We don't have to release it. But instead, they did, and then pointed fingers elsewhere as opposed to their own colossal mismanagement of what the video game landscape's expectations were. It sucks. That's what I don't like. The antithesis of that, question 5, what do you like about video games? And there's so much I love about video games. Having worked in the industry, one of my favorite things about video games is watching what should not work come together and be an absolute just symphony of visual and audio and just amazing storytelling, spectacular gameplay, and just brilliant manipulation of physics to create something that is chaotic but comes together into this just perfect song. That is so impressive to me every time. And even working in the industry, that was something where I was always so impressed to see a game in like the alpha process be just an absolute mess of a title, and then you get towards gold and all of a sudden it's like something happens and the game just comes together. It's so inspiring to see, and it's so much just, God, it was so gratifying at that time to be able to see that happen and see a game that you knew was going to be something special really turn that corner and become that special thing. The ones that I really remember that happening with were things like Fight Night Round 3, Mirror's Edge, Henry Hatsworth and the Puzzling Adventure, NASCAR 06, Total Team Control. Those games had their struggles during development where things just weren't coming together, and then all of a sudden something just clicked and we just made these. God, they were so cool. It was so neat to see. I also really like that we have a thriving independent scene right now, and that may kind of go to the opposite of what I said in the previous answer for the previous question with so many studios being bought up, but the independent scene is absolutely thriving right now, and we are getting such incredibly creative games released that I'm just floored by it. Like stuff like Pepper Grinder, taking, inspiration from Drill Dozer, but not making a Drill Dozer clone is incredible. Stuff like Penny's Big Breakaway, which is a brilliant love letter to classic 3D platforming. These unbelievable games are just thriving and showing up and look incredible and play incredibly well. And there's a testament there for the big three publishers really showing that they support and love independent games. And I think Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony should be commended for that. It's really cool. It's really cool to see stuff like that. All right, now it's time for the self-incriminating question. How much per month do you spend on games? And the answer is none of your business. No, that's not true. It's too much. I spend too much on video games. I know I do. I'm very lucky with the fact that my channel is monetized. So a lot of what I make from the channel goes back into the channel. So new games that I'm covering, like all of my eShop games, are covered both by my my AdSense income as well as my Patreon supporters. All that stuff is covered there. If I haven't gotten a review code, that money covers that, as well as stuff like equipment for the channel and new games that I get to review on the channel as well. All of that goes back into it. All of that is stuff that I use to make the channel better. So the answer is too much. And if I'm getting specific, it's usually 150 to 200 a month. Sometimes a little bit more. Convention season, it's significantly more. I do love, after the first week of November, I love that span until the start of April when Midwest Gaming Classic hits, because I don't have conventions to go to, so I can save some money up. The other side of it too was, I talked about this when I was talking about my collecting habits changing a couple of months ago. I really saw a shift in my spending habits when I focused on the Summer of Sega this year, where I was just looking primarily for Sega products to pick up, and that I got so much more stuff, but I spent so much more less because I was only focusing on one subset of gaming, and that made it a lot easier to pick stuff up. But yeah, so 200 a month I think is what it averages out to. It's more during convention season just because I'm at a place, and as my wife hates to hear me say, money doesn't count when you're at a convention. What is your favorite console is the next question, and this is almost impossible to answer. It really is, because it can change day to day. So I think I need to break it down into 4 separate answers, and it's going to be retro console, so anything Xbox 360 generation and prior, modern console, so the following generation and forward, retro handheld, and modern handheld, because I think you need to consider handhelds and consoles as separate things, and you need to consider retro and modern as separate things. So retro console, for me, my favorite is the Sega Genesis. I absolutely adore the Genesis. I think it is such a remarkable, wonderful machine that does some absolute magical stuff and had some incredible games on it. Now, the more I've been doing the Summer of Sega, the more I'm seeing a little bit of cracks in the Genesis armor that I've built up over the decades as it being my favorite console. But That's almost making me appreciate it more. It is such a fun console, though, and it's so much fun to play that I don't see me ever falling out of love with it. I do think it's probably the most brilliant retro console for me. As far as a retro handheld goes, that would be the Neo Geo Pocket Color. And that's hard to say because I love the Game Boy Advance. I love the Game Boy. I respect the Game Gear. The Lynx exists. But the Neo Geo Pocket Color is something that I thought really pushed the boundaries of what handheld gaming could be. It was such a well-designed machine with some unbelievably creative games that I can't describe how amazing of a system it is to play and was to play when it originally launched. That's up there for me. There's a reason that that's the goal I'm going for to get a full set is because it's such a fun console to play on. Now, as far as a modern handheld, and this might be stretching the boundaries of what I'm considering modern, but I think this qualifies just based on when it released. And I'm very tempted to say the Nintendo Switch, but I'm going to say the Nintendo 3DS, because the Nintendo 3DS, no matter what, is my favorite video game system to play on. As much as I love the Genesis, as much as I love the NES, stuff like that, the 3DS was something that was my everyday carry for about 10 years. Even after I got stuff like my Switch, the 3DS is the one I defaulted to and the one I went back to the most often. I just love it, and I think it has an absolutely brilliant library. I loved the Virtual Console. There was nothing that it did that I thought it did terribly poorly. Quite to the contrary, I thought it did everything very well. Now, as far as modern console goes, again, I'm tempted to say the Switch because I talk about the Switch so much, but I think it's actually the Xbox Series X. And it's... No, it is the Switch. Like, I'm trying to say it's not the Switch, but I have over 200 Switch games for a reason because I love playing on it, and my whole family loves playing on it. It's something where we've taken it on trips. It goes with us constantly. I take it camping when we go camping. It's hard to top that. It really is. It's such a nearly perfect console. Like, if it had more graphical fidelity, it would be something that I think would be 100% the greatest console of all time. It's up there. It's a fantastic machine. All right, question 8. What is your favorite video game movie? Uncharted. I liked the Uncharted movie. I wanted to love it, but I really liked it. And there's never been a video game movie where I look at it and I go, that was perfect. Like, I know so many people are going to say the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I thought the Super Mario Brothers movie was fun, but I didn't think it was perfect. I significantly enjoyed Uncharted more, and that might be because I love the character of Nate Drake so much, but I really did enjoy what Uncharted was. It was a fun movie. It was dumb fun. It was a simple exploration and introduction to who the character of Nathan Drake was, and I thought Tom Holland played the character really well. Mark Wahlberg was okay as Sully. I think him getting the mustache at the end really did help. That made me believe it a little bit more. But it was something where I thought the movie was fun. All I was really looking for with that movie was I want to walk out of it having fun. And I did. I had a blast watching it. I still enjoy it. I've watched it after the fact, and I think it's a really fun movie. What is your favorite video game character? Just talked about him. It's actually Nathan Drake. It would have been easy for me to say Link. It would have been easy for me to say Locke from Final Fantasy VI, but the character I consistently go back to, and the character that I have outside of Mega Man, so it's either Mega Man or Nathan Drake. Gosh, now that I said that. It's both. It's Nathan Drake and Mega Man. It's Mega Drake. It's... I like both those characters so much. Like, Mega Man is my favorite retro video game character. I love his series of games. But at the end of the day, the stories aren't really stories so much as they are archetypes or tropes. So I do think it is Nate Drake, because the stories of the Uncharted games, like, Uncharted 4 is a legitimately emotional game. It's a moving game. It's something where there's so much deep story told that it was honestly kind of shocking to me, but I loved it, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. I love every single Uncharted title. There are some Mega Man games that I haven't loved, but every Uncharted game I've played I think is just brilliant, and the stories that are told with Nate and his entire supporting cast are amazing. Last question. What is my least favorite type of video game? And you may have probably figured it out based on my first answer, which is the video games I like to play. And my least favorite is exactly the same as Stewart: death simulators. I do not understand the appeal of a Souls-like game. And that's not to say I don't like a difficult game. I like Mega Man. We've talked about that. But something like Bloodborne or any of the Dark Souls or Elden Ring or something like that, where it's, you know, I see people streaming these games and they have their death count on screen, and I'm like, that's not fun. It's frustration. I don't want that. I don't want to be frustrated playing a video game. I don't want to be made to feel like I suck. I don't want to be made to feel like I'm bad at a game. So Souls-like games to me, not my thing. Now, interestingly, if you take that and you don't make it a 3D action game and you make it a 2D platformer, that's another story entirely, because I love Dead Cells. I love things like Super Meat Boy, and those are absolutely death simulators. But they're wrapped up in a familiar package to me. You know, they're wrapped up like a classic game that I've been playing since I was a kid. So I don't feel quite as disconnected from those experiences as I do with a Souls-like game that's in 3D. I just prefer them in 2D, I guess. There you have it, my friends, the 10 questions that were burning that Stewart needed me to answer. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned a little bit about me. I hope this answered some questions. If there's anything you want me to elaborate on, please feel free to ask in the comments down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I'm not going to tag anyone because I don't like tags. I think I made that pretty clear at the start, but I will say this: if you want to do a video response, consider yourself tagged by the universe. Just let me know. I would love to see what your answers are. Till next time, folks, I've been Jay. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. If you enjoyed this video, click the thumbs up down below. Engagement helps the channel out. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button. Stick around. I do a couple videos a week, and I'm doing a short every day. And I've been doing that for almost a year now, which is nuts to me. But I'm enjoying it. It's been really fun. Remember, play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.